He's a petty, punitive child. And I can recognize a toddler because I'm a parent of 3 of them. And I recognize the same behavior. And yes, censorship is occurring, but it's self-censorship, and it's by you all. Because I hear you in our private conversations when you agree that Trump is a child. I hear the people you tell that Trump is a child, whether it's lobbyists or reporters. But you shrink in this room, and you shrink in the chamber, and you self-censor yourselves from speaking out because you're afraid. And he's laughing at you that you take him so seriously because he's unserious. He's laughing that you think he is so powerful because he's weak. He's laughing that you think he is so big because he's quite small.
More Democrats need to call out their GOP colleagues that obviously recognize the unserious nature of Donald Trump and his self-serving policies, but they're too afraid to act on their concerns. They're the easiest group of people that he successfully censored. The rest of his targets require forcing truth-tellers to be replaced by propagandists.
In addition, I'm pleased to report that America is also a free nation once again. On day one, I signed an executive order to stop all government censorship. No longer will our government label the speech of our own citizens as misinformation or disinformation, which are the favorite words of censors and those who wish to stop the free exchange of ideas.
It's a direct attack on the truth. Just like the common line for people that are arrested. If you're innocent, you have nothing to worry about. So if MAGA is full of truth tellers, why can't they withstand being confronted with evidence of their lies? It's much easier to lean into the fascism by forcibly censoring them.
This is what it comes down to. Independent thinkers like me have no home in the Democrat Party of censorship and total conformity and war. Under President Trump's leadership, the Republican Party welcomes people like us, encourages this open debate and different ideas, is pro-freedom, pro-peace. President Trump has transformed this Republican Party that is welcoming many, many people like me to come and actually stand for the core principles of our country, our Constitution, freedom and peace and prosperity.
It's such an elementary version of propaganda. Declare yourself an independent thinker, despite the loads of evidence that shows your willingness to blindly adopt the perspectives of a proven liar. Then you toss on a whole bunch of empty patriotic rhetoric that has zero actions behind it, and then use that as a rallying cry for people to line up with you behind a man constantly railing against censorship as he openly practices it.
Yesterday, Donald Trump banned the Associated Press, a 179-year-old newspaper organization, from the White House because it declines to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. This is straight-up press censorship based on retaliatory viewpoint discrimination. Trump's DOD kicked out 8 news groups that had space in the Pentagon, but which asked skeptical questions of the new secretary, including the New York Times, NBC News, and the Washington Post, all ousted in favor of outlets willing to faithfully advance the party line of the state, like Breitbart and One American News Network.
Every time this movement is exposed for its lack of values that it claims to have, it redefines their censorship as attacking lies that they never seem to expose. The prevailing proof to their followers is, trust us, we're not lying. All while news organizations that challenge them are considered enemies for doing the jobs.
We talked already about the problems at the FCC. I think what we're seeing is incredibly powerful government officials using their power and their pulpit to go directly after news organizations. President Trump called for 60 Minutes to be, quote, terminated. Mr. Musk has gone after individual reporters who are trying to cover what Doge is doing. We don't know what Doge is doing. There's very little public information available, and yet reporters who dare to actually ask, who are these people? What are they doing? Why do they have access to our most important personal information? When that happens, here comes Mr. Musk, a government employee, but also the head of a social media company, coming after individual reporters. Those are some of the things that I'm incredibly concerned about. And there are many others who are saying they're going to come after journalists, including the nominee to head the FBI.
Elon Musk's blatant corruption and freedom to do whatever he wants with our information no longer exists if the outlets exposing it aren't giving access anymore. His declarations about where he's claimed to find waste, abuse, and fraud slowly become the truth if there are no more entities there to confirm his findings. The accusers become the judge, jury, and executioner, completely dismantling any reality that they don't create.
Trump is suing CBS for $20 billion in damages because, check this out, he believes an interview with Kamala Harris produced too favorable an impression of her. So that means that I could sue Fox News because I think their interviews with Trump produce too favorable an impression of him. I mean, this is lunacy. And now, exploiting his asserted unitary executive powers, Trump is unleashing his sycophant FCC chairman Brendan Carr on every news group whose stories he doesn't approve of, actually threatening to pull the government broadcast licenses for ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, and NPR. Nothing of a hostile nature, of course, has taken place against Fox News, which is now the de facto state-approved media, enjoys immunity from the repression visited on its liberal competitors. What is this, North Korea?
Well, yes. Actually, it's looking more and more like North Korea every day. Intimidation of a free press for the sake of making examples out of others that want to keep the access that they've got. If you don't report exactly what the fascist leaders tell you to, you're considered an enemy of the state, out to harm the patriotic interests of the dear leader, whose patriotism is defined strictly by himself. Our reality is in the middle of being flipped completely on its head, where fascism is democracy, corruption is righteousness, and propaganda is fact. And you're rewarded if you feed the authoritarian, and punished if you don't.
That is not how brainwashing works. Brainwashing is created through a sustained repetition of messages for a long period of time. It wouldn't happen in a few days after some kind of outburst, after a story appears. It happens after months or years of specific, ominous rhetoric targeting the object for elimination.